If you want to know.
Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Yes, Mr. Martin Brown joins us now. He's the political advisor in the House of Commons in the United Kingdom. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
Well, on this forum, you'll be speaking about security.
Yes, maritime security.
Maritime security.
Yes.
Will that also touch on piracy, activities of pirates, and how that affects also here?
Yes, it will indeed. I'm hoping that we don't talk too much about piracy because I'd like to take a broader environmental view of insecurity in this area. And we've heard from scientists earlier on today about investing in alternative fuels and alternative forms of fuel such as solar power. But actually what I'd like to look at in terms of the environment is the broader human capital in this area. Not just talk about piracy out at sea, because that's obviously something that's quite interesting to ship owners, but not necessarily important to everybody here, and sometimes has too much news value. I've been a person who has advised on insecurity in the Gulf of Aden and been to Somalia many times, but I think in this area it's different. We hear about piracy, but what we should really talk about is insecurity, talk about human capital, talk about human infrastructure, and investment in people and investment in jobs.
So primarily for you, the focus more should be on investment. I mean, you're doing energy, environment, and investment. And it would seem that you're looking at the investment from the perspective of this two. Do you see this two tying into investment? Does it make
absolutely.
Do the topics make it difficult for investors,
yes.
for instance?
It's another word that we should always use is confidence, because it's both confidence in the local population, but it's confidence in investors, particularly in the maritime industry. There are not enough American ships coming to this area. They do not have the confidence in the local bureaucratic infrastructures. Europe and America have moved ahead of Nigeria, who still have quite complex bureaucratic procedures, which are time expensive for investors, particularly in the shipping world. Add to that some of the other insecurities, and you have a mix which is holding up investment and holding down confidence in Europe. And one of the other things I heard mentioned earlier on by Eric Joyce, we talked about stomach politics, about the alternative economies, investment. Well, you can't do that unless you have proper infrastructure, confidence in that infrastructure, and you can't have that chain of employment relating to the land. Another primary product, food.
When you talk about infrastructure here, is it the legal infrastructure, the policies of government, will that help to move this forward?
Correct. Again, I mean, that's really what I'm talking about here. If we look back to the 70s, we can see that there are regulatory bodies with overlapping responsibilities in terms of immigration, maritime police, NIMASA we know of. All of these state-governed regulatory bodies were developed quite a long time ago, but the world's moved on. Things have become more complicated. They need to be rationalized. We need to improve confidence. We have to look at everything in terms of time and confidence. And if we cannot get those regulated bodies to work more confidently and more transparently, then what we will have is an additional layer of insecurity. And people now talk about piracy, but actually what we should be talking about is port safety and anti-corruption in West African ports, because that's what underpins the lack of confidence and the rise of crime.
So what investors want to see is corporate governance properly done, and so when that is seen, it will give that confidence to encourage them to come in? Is that what you're saying?
We want some additional rationalization in those regulatory bodies. We want a focus on European values, which is saving time for investors, shipping people. But we also want people to realize that there needs to be some investment in those human infrastructures that will allow the use of more technology, but also a changing culture to how things are done, to come closer to what investors want to see here, and to make sure that they can invest directly more easily.
Okay. You say the world has moved on. So when investors from other parts of the world come here, do they expect to see the same or policies that are similar to theirs or unique to us here?
Increasingly, security policies in the maritime industry are global. So you have a security in ports agenda, which is set in America and Europe. But at the moment, that those international standards, both for using security on ships out at sea and for how those ships can come to unload their cargoes in ports, those standards are not quite at the same level. And as I said before, that translates into time, longer changeover times for vessels coming here. And of course, we understand that we don't want to reduce employment, but actually there has to be some rationalization to reduce, to cash in on efficiencies that are required to attract.
That's why we key to technology.
Yes, we need more technology in the ports, and we need a change of culture, we need rationalization, and we need people to understand that things have got to move on a little more quickly.
Are you implying increasing the unemployment level because you want to move the industry forward?
Yes.
Increase unemployment to move the industry forward?
It's a difficult one, actually. It's a paradox because it's transitional. You have to reduce the number of people who are involved bureaucratically across different regulatory bodies, and that obviously means lowering employment in those areas. But that will automatically improve employment in the agricultural chain or building roads or in other areas.
But when you talk about insecurity, say even in the land, people know that for investors the stakes are higher.
Yes.
So if you are an investor, the bigger the risk, the bigger the returns. Does it always work like that for investors? Do they think of it that way?
They do, and particularly in the security industry itself, and I advise maritime security industry, and I'll be doing that here. And for them, insecurity is a business, of course. But for others, and I think particularly about Nigerians at the moment, who, for instance, I was speaking to a man who wants to build a cashew nut processing factory, and he is exporting unprocessed cashew nuts to East Asia. Goes all the way around Africa to that ready available market, but there's a low price per ton of those cashew nuts. Nigeria is rich in cashew nuts growing near Abuja. But if they build the factory, the processing of the cashew nut means they get 3 times the price. It means that the communities in that area, their wages go up automatically. The problem they have is they can't get the investors to invest in the factory because of insecurity in the north. They can't get the money because they do not know how to translate their business idea and mitigate the risks for the investor in the logistics chain. And part of that is back to insecurities and anti-corruption in the ports.
Interesting. Wow. All right. Thank you for coming on this morning. Mr. Martin Brown is the political advisor in the House of Commons in UK. We'll catch up with you at this.
Thanks a lot. That was great.
All right, well, that's it today on Sunrise Daily. Yes, we did come to you live from Port Harcourt, where this Energy Investments Forum is holding. We will see you then at that summit. I was going to say we'll be back. No, I'm Chamberlain. Well,
of course, we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.
And I'm Neil Taigwe. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.